bit about our politics, that today we're having a conversation about how men of integrity shy away from getting involved in it. And this is coming from a former Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Justice Georgina Wood, served as Chief Justice for 10 years. So when she makes that point, it has to be taken seriously. And so we're having this conversation. We're joined on the phone by Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah, who is a former UN Senior Governance Advisor, former UN Senior Governance Advisor. He is also the CEO of the Agyekum Kuffour Foundation. Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Winston, and thanks for having me.
So I believe you've listened to the audio of, Justice Georgina Wood. First of all, what's your assessment, your view on what she said?
Well, I have to tell you, I have very high regards for Our Lady, first Chief Justice Georgina Wood, and I doff my heart to her because I think he's hit the bull's eye with this statement that he's made. It is a powerful statement because seldom do we get our respectable, highly accomplished public officials, retired, who come out. And that reminds me of another former Chief Justice who boldly went on a demonstration, picketing with others over the DDEP program. So I'm delighted that these voices are being raised. Look, it's clear to all of us that our current political system is failing us and failing us badly. We copied, in my view, blindly, the kind of democracy that we cherish, the American democracy, and maybe the British democracy. So we put the two together, and we call it a hybrid, giving excessive power to the president, like the American presidential system, even though the one we copied is not endowed with so much power as we have in our country. Even then, look at what is going on in the United States. Their democracy is rotten. The party system is rotten, and everybody knows. In fact, if you follow American politics these days, a lot of democratic scholars are questioning the viability and relevance of American democracy because it's a system that is able to produce someone like Donald Trump who is prepared to subvert the very democratic system that brought him to power. So there's a whole lot of intellectual issues being raised about democracy. And I think, in a way, we are in a position to quickly revise ours, even though some people are resisting the whole notion of constitutional reforms or review only because they have vested interest.
Okay. I mean, we'll get into all of these. But before we do, let me just say that this morning we're having a conversation about politics, and we're asking that question: why do men of integrity find it very difficult to get into our politics? So let me say welcome to all our listeners in Kumasi who are listening to us on Love 99.5 FM. We'll get into that question shortly. But Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah, you say our current system has failed, and is failing us badly. How do you come by that conclusion?
Well, I come by that conclusion because after 30 years of our fourth Republican Constitution, clearly, it's not me only saying it, but a lot of very important voices have been raised about the need to have a serious review of the Constitution. It's failing us because it has created, even though the Constitution is a multi-party system, what we have created based on our political tradition, going all the way back to the late 40s and 50s, based on that tradition, which got modified somewhere on the line because of military interventions, we do have a dominant two-party system. If you're talking about state capture, the capture has been successfully done by this duopoly in our system. And that is not even the reason why I say that. It's only because the system gives so much power, concentration of power at the center. So it's very difficult to check corruption. It's very difficult to ask for transparency and all the kinds of values that make proper democracy work. This system has literally disempowered the citizens' population. Why will a minister go to a district to open a school when we have a DC there? Because it's a centralized system that we have. And coming directly to what the former Chief Justice said, it is true, and I agree with her 100%, there are a lot of decent individuals in this country, here and abroad. And we see how why they hesitate to venture into this. I have nothing against those who go into politics. People say it's a dirty game. Maybe it's not. People say maybe people who go in there, maybe not. But the point is that we are unable as citizens to check the powers that the Constitution has endowed our leaders with. And therefore, because of the duopolistic nature of this, it has sharpened the divide in our politics.
Okay.
Such that if you cough and you don't, depend on where you stood to cough, you can easily be identified with another party. Let me give you my own example. Look,
go ahead.
You mentioned, and it's true, I'm CEO for the John Agyekum Kuffour Foundation. I know a lot of people, then he's an MPP man because he's working for Kuffour. MPP man.
But if you work for, Prof, somebody would argue, that if John Kuffour wants somebody to work for him, he would go for somebody who probably thinks like him. And since he's been president on the ticket of the NPP...
No, because if you understand foundation, which is a charitable organization, then you understand that it is not a political organization. Sure. And, Mr. Kuffour is a very, very wise person, and he knows that. He came for me not because I share his political vision. No. It's strictly based on what the foundation has to do.
Great. So let's look at...
This is just a quick example.
Sure.
Yes.
So let's look at what, Justice Georgina Wood has talked about. She's talked about men of integrity shying away from our politics. Now, you've been, in this country, together with Professor Jimabwede, you set up the CDD Ghana, and we've all known this. Let's look at this critically. I'm sure in the past you probably would have had people, coming to you and saying, oh, how about you get involved in politics? You stayed neutral. Tell me, what is it about our politics that scares you?
Frankly, if and I have to admit, there are few people who have spoken to me in the past and even currently who think, why don't you join, not political party, but why don't you do independent candidacy and all that? What scares me is not the insults and needless abuses by opponents and all. But what scares me is the way we have redefined our politics, our democracy in monetary terms. You look at the primaries, look at the parliamentary elections that they had. It is nothing but money. In a way, somebody will tell you maybe the politicians have been clever to impoverish people so people can be enamored by 200 CDs or 50 CDs to buy votes. So people get elected not on the basis of their merit or the vision that they are providing, but on the basis of the money they're able to throw around, giving motorcycles for free. Even today as we speak, some candidates aspiring to be president are promising their party people jobs. As if when you are elected president, your job is to create jobs for your party people. And that's happening on both fronts across the political divide. And that's the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, said, mendacity has become an art form. Mendacity, that is to say, in other words, lies or just falsehoods and propaganda, whatever that you call it. You know? And for some strange reasons, and one may think that 2023, when Ghana's education supposedly has risen to heights, newer heights and all, there are so many of us who are still vulnerable. You see? So the fear, if you ask me, is people using mendacity plus wealth to create phantoms for the vulnerable to believe that these individuals can change their circumstances. But if you see the 30 years that we have spent in the past, there have been some moments of light. You know, I'm not saying everything has been bad. No, not at all. There have been moments of light in our 30 years journey so far. And I think I can even say, under all the governments we've had, from the Rawlings to Kuffour to Atamils to John Mahama to Akufo-Addo, we have had some spots of light. But if you look at the total picture, it's been gloomy. And today, it seems to be even worse because people seem to have lost hope because those who are aspiring to be leaders are not giving the hope that people need.
Okay. Well, this morning our guest is Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah, who is a former UN Senior Governance Advisor and CEO of the J. Kuffour Foundation. So, Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah, let me ask you a very simple question. Are there good men in our politics?
Of course there are good men. I think there are good men. But I think the good men get into politics and get spoiled by the system that we have created. That is the way I see it. Because frankly, towards election, not only the last one, people had a lot of hope in this country that things were going to change for the better, all because of the men and women we saw seeking our leadership. But then we get into action and people begin to give up. Now the question becomes, is it the people who deceived us by giving us sweetness and sugar and all that? Or is it that they were good, they got into the system, they got spoiled? You see? And when I make the assessment myself, it seems more to me, maybe a combination, but more I put the blame on the system that does not provide enough checks on the power that people entrusted with authority exercise. And I think that's to a large extent. Look, the way we manage our resources, for instance, the way our leaders manage our resources. Look at our mineral sector. In some countries, Botswana, they have renegotiated their deals with foreign investors who are mining their diamonds. They're now claiming 51%. And we have highly educated, intelligent people in our country and who don't seem to see anything wrong with getting 8% from our own natural resources. When Champon years ago decided to decree 51% of our natural resources, of course, he didn't stay long to see the benefits of that, and it was scuttled by the subsequent government, you see. So there are certain things that you think about and you cannot understand.
Okay. Why
governments can throw money at things that do not bring any profit, you see.
Well,
so that for me is the problem. I think because the so-called law on causing financial loss is not applied to leaders, I don't know. Because look, a good example. One government can say, I'm going to provide housing. He goes for loan $240 million, go to set up what they call the Saglema housing, whatever. Another government comes, so I see a whole lot of problems with that. So for 6 years, I will do nothing about it, and the place is rotting. Now, if you turn around, then you are going to get another loan to rebuild, or you are going to sell it at basement price to an investor.
Okay.
Look at the financial loss that the whole nation has gotten here. And this is just one example. Projects that have started, look, Kumasi has a perfect example. a champion side. He decided to build a massive hospital structure at the Confanochi Hospital. He was overthrown, and for 45 years, nobody touched it. Now,
Prof,
some
talking
years
about
back, the present president, Nana Akufo-Addo, decided to revive it. Then they discovered the whole thing needs to be pulled down. $20-30 million investment pulled down.
Okay.
Why couldn't we charge our former president with causing financial loss to the nation? But we are happy to jump on the road to go to see Euro bonds and other kinds of things, to do other things. You see, so the whole system, I think, is rotten. And the politicians are just cashing in and wasting our resources needlessly.
Okay, let me bring
for
in...
me, that's a major issue. So the people, yes, we have good people with integrity, as the first, the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice said. But unfortunately, we are not seeing much from them.
Okay, let me bring in Majority Leader and Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Member of Parliament for Swami, Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu, who's joined us, because you've asked the question, yes, we have men of integrity, but you're not seeing it. You agree with the former Chief Justice who says these men, who are men of integrity, men of honor, just don't get into our politics. You've added one and said, even the good men who get into our politics get spoiled at the end of the day. Honorable Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Honorable Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu.
Hello.
Hello, Honorable Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu. Good morning. And
good morning. Your line is very, very faint. I can barely hear you.
Is it better now? Can you hear me?
Slightly better.
Okay, great. So you've heard, Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah make the point that while in agreeing with the former Chief Justice, he says that even the good men who get into politics end up being spoiled by the system. You've been in this, since 1997, you've been a member of parliament. You've been involved in our politics since, the Fourth Republic, or even before that. What is it about our politics? First of all, do you agree that we have a lot of men of integrity who are shying away from our politics because of the fear of reputational damage?
Yes, I think that to a very large extent, I agree with the Chief Justice. And I have been talking about this. Over several years, I've been harping on that. So I'm happy that the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, has also added her voice. I think that so many people, because of the poisoned atmosphere that we have, anybody can jump into the fray, pretend to be a journalist, and tear somebody into pieces from nowhere without any justification. And people just look on. Nobody comes to the defense of the person that is being attacked. Yet you can see that that person may not be in control of any facts. But he is in control of microphones, 2 microphones before him. He thinks that he can do whatever he likes. So the journalists are not helping our cause. I wouldn't say everybody, but some of them, maybe a few of them, are not helping the cause of this country by their attitude.
Okay.
Second, I also think that, and I've been talking about this, I also think that the process of selecting people or choosing people to various positions also doesn't help at all. Doesn't help at all. First of all, the political parties. I keep saying that there's nowhere in the established democracies where at the end of the life of parliament, the sluice gates are open to all comers to come and contest a certain member of parliament. And the parliamentary group has no say. People just come from outside. They've not been tested. They've not gone through any mail. They have fat wallets, and they come to dislodge people. They come to parliament, and you see that is not really matching up to the people that they came to dislodge. That is weakening Parliament. But that person who has spent so much getting elected to Parliament, I keep saying, my brother, that nobody enters Parliament who is a Father Christmas. If the person sows today, he wants to reap tomorrow. So if you put such a person, if his party wins and he's put in any place as a minister where he may be awarding contracts and so on, you can be sure that he will reap his harvest at the expense of the state. There can't be any pretense about that. Because we know people that we have been with in public space. You may know their standard of living. Overnight is made a minister. 2-3 years, his status changes overnight. Can we pretend we are not seeing what is happening? So we are contaminating the environment for ourselves. I will pretend everything is okay with our politics. Somebody may not be a member of Parliament. Maybe from our side, he's made a minister, appointed the chief executive, and overnight, we see what happened. All these things happen at the spirit of the state. So somebody then begins to analyze these things and says, I've spent so much time getting to where I've gotten to. If I should go there, I may be put in that category. So better stay out. Better stay out. So we should do serious introspection on this as a country. I mentioned at some places that empirical study that's been conducted by the World Bank, which shows that in small unitary countries, especially the emerging economies, the presidential system is not good for us because it is established that those countries are much more susceptible to corruption than those of them in the Westminster system. Is what we are pursuing best for us, or should we go back to the Westminster system? These are matters that should engage the attention of this country. So, by and large, as I said, I agree with what the Lady Chief Justice, the former Lady Chief Justice, has said. But a lot depends on all of us. I think we can change the system, which is why some of us have started talking to a holistic review of our constitution. I think it will do us a lot of good. But the political parties must also wake up. They must also wake up.
We'll get to the political parties waking up, and we'll get to our constitution also. This morning we're joined by Member of Parliament for Swami and Majority Leader, Honorable Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu, and Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah, former UN Senior Governance Advisor and CEO of the John Agyekum Kuffour Foundation. We're talking about our politics. We're asking that question: why is it difficult for men of integrity and honor to get into our politics? But Honorable Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu, you make a point. You talk about nobody being a Father Christmas. Do I get the view that our electoral system encourages corruption?
I think that's the point that I've been harping on all this while. It's the point I've been harping on all this while. A political party exists as per Article 55(3) of the Constitution to market itself. In public space about its programs, social and economic programs to develop this country. But people mount soapboxes and they get this now. This man is short, this man is tall, this person is handsome, this lady is beautiful, let's vote for these people. It has no relevance. Others mount, they attack, when you give them space, they are attacking their opponents, personally, instead of espousing what they themselves be able to do. I think last week, I had made a statement in June, about 2020, when I was talking about the polling station executives in my party, that they exist to do house-to-house campaign for the party per Article 6 of my party's constitution. And yet you go everywhere, and the polling station executives are not doing that. Their interest is in maybe the time arriving for the election of parliamentary candidates, for the election of constituency executives, regional executives, national executives, presidential candidates. The focus is there, not on the bigger picture of doing house-to-house campaigns. So I was telling them that the president is not the one in charge of house-to-house campaigns, not the national executives. They cannot come to my constituency and engage in house-to-house campaigns. Not the regional executives, not Wuntumi and his group, or even the constituency executives. That is not their charge, to do house-to-house campaigns into a constituency. Our constitution is clear. It should be these people going from house to house and doing that. They themselves, do they understand the ideology of the party? Do they understand the manifesto of the party to be able to propagate this, to win souls and new converts for the party? Many people are not interested in those things.
Okay.
Remember, when I went round, I was asking them, 2020, ask anybody, anyone amongst you, and for over the past 1 year, spend 2-3 hours to engage in house-to-house campaign for the party. None of them have done so. And they told me, they admitted openly that they had not done so. So I said to them that because of the circumstances that we find ourselves in, the public circumstances, which had really dwindled our performance, I was telling them that they needed to upscale this. Otherwise, it was going to be difficult for us to win the 2020 elections in spite of all that we had done.
Okay.
This is what messages I sent out there. The following day, and I think subsequently I spoke to Oman FM on that. Then 2-3 days after, somebody went and captured what I said and said, I have said the police station executives are useless. 90% of them are useless. And that became a topic of discussion. They will not even call you, and they will not even listen to what you said on the other station. It's personality attack. That is what interests some people.
Okay.
It doesn't advance the cause of our party. So somebody then thinks that, well, if I make the most innocuous of statements and it attacks B, who will come and sting me, then maybe I better keep quiet. I will decline comment on anything. Some people may think like that, especially those of them who are not in mainstream politics. And yet, there could be very useful ideas from such people. Okay. So I think we should all be learning lessons, and we should be looking at issues about development that will enhance our national growth, not always saturating the airwaves with insults and so on, and very derogatory remarks. People emerge as, hotheads, bellicose people, always insulting people. And the radio stations are giving space to such people on almost daily basis, not talking to issues, but always pouring insults and upset on others. And that doesn't advance the cause. So different people then would, shy away from making comments on otherwise important national issues, which they may have very useful contributions to. So I agree in general with the comments. We should all be learning useful lessons to advance the cause of our democracy.
Great. And talking about advancing the cause, let me get back to you, Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah. And so right now, yes, we've all agreed that that's a problem we're faced with. And we've all agreed also that it must change. Where does the change begin from? And what must be done? Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah.
I'm sorry, it faded off. Hello?
Okay, so I was asking that, we've all agreed that, we've all agreed with the former Chief Justice. We've all agreed also that things must change. So where must the change begin from, and in what form must it take?
That's a very important question. And I'm not sure I can give a precise response. But let me say this. The change should emerge from multiple sources. See, for me, the beginning point will be to revise the Constitution to restructure the power relations between the elected and the governed. It's very important. People don't tend to see it this way.
Okay.
When the Honorable Majority Leader was speaking, he made reference to a point that people come from nowhere with their money and become parliamentarians, have no history, have no experience behind them. That is what the system has created for us. That is to say, we have deliberately or not, is empowered local politics where actually tutelage in governance will begin. I'm talking about the issue of decentralization so that we can have vibrant democracy at the grassroots level, which we don't. So if you have money, you are educated, you think you can do something, the only place you can look for a status, for wealth, for power, forever, is at the national level. We have over-unified our governance structure, and that is, in a way, a contributing factor to the corruption and everything, getting incompetent people to come into government. We are not prepared because there's nothing in our system that prepares you to assume national positions.
Okay.
It should be at the locality. But the president appoints everybody from the local level to the national level. So there's nobody interested in going to the local communities to show their competence or to learn before getting upgraded to national level. That, for me, is a key issue. So you need to address that. Then, of course, the change should begin from people like you and I. And I personally, I do admire some of you guys in the media who are constantly reminding Ghanaians about certain needs that we have. Okay? And I think to a large extent, our better organized civil society groups, like the think tank, they are doing a lot in this country. But do our political leaders listen to them? Do they relate to them? Do they engage them? You see? The other day I was listening to one professor who confirmed they are doing all kinds of research and findings and all that could easily inform certain public policies. But ask yourself, is there a connection between the two sides? We set up institutions, spend a lot of money on them, but we disregard their products that could perhaps help in shaping the course of this country. So if you ask me, the change, where should it come from? It should come from all of us. Media, you have a role. Civil society has a role. But one thing I'm very much frustrated with is the politicians who get into power. That's why these two-party systems is scaling up. See, both parties have tasted power, but they know what it is. And it seems like they engage in a silent kind of agreement. You come in, you do what you can, I'll scratch your back, and then you go out and I come and I do the same. In fact, they are out of vision. Listen to the two parties. What are they telling us now? I don't know what they are telling us. You want to come and do what? You see? So I think we have a serious problem with the system that we have created. That's why I'm always talking about how we can restructure this so that power can be decentralized and we can have multiple centers of progress in this country, not concentrating in one spot for progress in the country. So I'm sorry, I can't give a specific answer of where the change should come. It should come from all of us. It should come from all of us.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Please hold on. Let me get to Honorable Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu. So, same question. Where do we start from? And the change that we want, where do we start from? And what must be done? What form should it take?
Hello?
Yes, Honorable Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu. I was asking that since we all agree that things would have to change, I am asking what form should the change take and where do we begin from?
Well, I regret to say that I didn't hear what Professor Baffour said. But if you ask me, I think it's multifaceted. It's multifaceted. First, the political parties have a huge role to play. They need to do serious introspection about their own internal democracy. They need to have a second look at that so that we produce credible people to add value to our governance. Second, I think we also need to take the work of the NCCE much more seriously than we have done all this while. We need to capacitate them and also give them the relevant resources to be able to play their defined role to help us clean up the political environment.
Okay.
We also need to look at our constitution, relevant portions of our constitution, in terms of corruption. How do you deal with it? You go to the provisions about the declaration of assets. Have a lot is left to be desired. The least must be desired because one makes declarations and nobody has access to those declarations. The person is ushered into office and in anticipation of what he thinks he can get. He's filling his form. He says that he owns 10 houses when he owns one, and because he thinks that within the next 8 years he'll be able to have 10 houses. So he says he has 10 houses. We fill these things for purposes of tax declarations.
Okay.
How do you match it against the tax that has been paid by that person who made those declarations? Nothing is done. So there are loopholes in our constitution that people exploit to their own advantage.
Okay.
So we must be looking at this holistically. And as I've said, you even come to Parliament. Presidents appoint ministers, and somebody is appointed to a ministry to do what? To add value to our governance and our development efforts.
Sure.
The person is appointed to a place, is vetted within 1 year, 6 months, or sometimes even before the person is ushered into office, is changed from that place to another place without the person coming back to Parliament for vetting. How do you know whether the person has competence, demonstrable competence in the area that you are sending him to?
Okay.
In the presidential systems, the US being the flagship of presidential systems, where we've taken a cue from in their vetting processes, they vet for specific positions. Ours is so dilute. When you come to vetting people, you ask them the most fundamental of questions relating to the sector that is going to superintend. It tells you that he's not able to answer. Let him go there, he will learn. Well, as you do know, the Constitution provides that that person who goes to that office should assist the president in running the state efficient. And also is a cabinet minister to help the president evolve policy for his sector. It tells you he's not going to learn. And you pass him, let him go. What does it mean? There'll be no addition, no value addition to our governance. So I think that we need to do serious introspection in these matters so that people who are appointed to public space merit their positions and also to ensure sanity in our system. And I think going further, our development efforts is lagging behind because of also the fact that all these years, the past 30, 31 years, we've not been able to construct our National Development Planning Commission such that it will be an above-board commission that will be able to define a long-term development plan for us. Okay. Now, the commission, as suggested in the Constitution, is so much politically tainted that regardless of the quality of work that they do, succeeding administrations don't want to have anything to do with them. And I think that is bad for us. Let's look at all these things to improve our system of governance. And I think that if we do that, or at least begin to do that, we'll begin to witness incremental upscaling in our development, in our national development.
Great. Now, the bit about Parliament, finally. So, and we've seen a lot of ministers coming in there and talking about they're going to learn. You've been on the appointments committee before. An indication that those persons who are passed should not have been passed because of the responsibilities expected of them?
The thing is, by our own arrangement, since 1993, the presidents are given the power to make the nominations, and we vet the members because the Constitution just provides that the qualification and eligibility criteria as set out in Article 94 shall apply to ministers.
Sure.
So if the minister is already a member of Parliament, there's very little initiative then to vet him because he qualifies under Article 94 to have been elected in the first place. And then a ministerial appointment requires much more than that. As I said, the Constitution provides in Article 78 that ministers of state shall be appointed to assist the president to run the state efficiently. So that's the first responsibility. 76, relating to cabinet ministers, stresses that they should assist the president to evolve policy. You must be competent in the field to be able to assist the president evolve policy in that field, not merely to depend on technocrats. What's the value addition that you are bringing to bear in that sector? We don't look at these things, and we don't emphasize that because we all do know that after a while, the president can shift the person to another place without recourse to Parliament. And yet, the person has been vetted for a specific ministry. The following day, maybe for agric, the following day is being moved to trade and industry. What is his own competence in trade and industry? He doesn't come back to Parliament. And that is why I'm saying that what obtains elsewhere should apply in Ghana so that from now on, we shall then vet for specific sectors.
Okay.
If you have demonstrable competence, it will show.
All right.
If you don't have it, then Parliament will have no business, approving of your nomination. And I think if we begin from there, it will bring quality and indeed value addition in what we do in Parliament and also positively impact on our governance.
Honorable Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're very grateful. And also we're grateful to you, Professor Baffour Agyemang Duah, for joining us. Baffour Agyemang Duah, who's former UN Senior Governance Advisor, and Honorable Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu, Majority Leader in Parliament.